Thank you everybody for being with us today for the MBOX Studio featuring Sam Pura webinar. And now without further ado, thank you everybody for being with us today for And now without further ado, everybody for being with us. Take it away, Sam.
Hey, what is up, everyone? This is your best friend, Sam Pura, here at the Panda Studios.
Hi, Sam. How you doing?
John. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic today. And I'm John.
I'm very excited to be hanging out with you.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for joining us. Just want to give you a quick intro. So I'm John Whitcore. I'm the senior principal product manager for the MBOX Studio and our Carbon family products. Here welcoming Sam Pura today from Panda Studios, studio owner, producer, engineer, musician, father, and also the owner of a plugin company, audio plugin company, which is super cool. So thanks for joining us today. I know you got a lot of stuff you want to talk to us about.
Yes.
And I'm just going to turn it right on over to you, and we're going to get right into it.
Okay, cool. I guess, to start, thanks for letting me do this. I'm really excited about this. This is about the Avid MBOX, as you can see on the screen here. I'm really excited about this product. It's not, this isn't a paid advertisement or anything. I'm actually just like really stoked to be able to do this and kind of show our awesome workflow that we have tailored to this. So the best way to kind of explain is like, we make records, and what we are doing most of the time when we make records is accumulating data. So it's vocals, guitars, bass, any of that type of stuff. It's working in the DAW. So I have a typical setup happening on this MBOX that we're gonna demo. So let me play you a beat that we got working on here, and we'll take it away. Okay, cool. So let's talk about guitar DI first. I already have a guitar set up here, and I'm running straight into the input of this Carbon. So let's pull up the what is this called? The MBOX control. So this is like a whole new interface that is, this doesn't exist on any other product, right, John?
Correct. Yeah, it's the it's exclusive for MBOX Control or MBOX Studio. Yep.
So I'm running on this DI input here, and if I click on it, it's going to bring up all my options. So the first thing to talk about is the impedance. So I have this set to the highest impedance, so we are capturing this guitar as it is. No signal loss, nothing. This is a pristine DI, ready to go. So let's play a guitar part and show you how I would record a guitar part for this beat in our session. So let's put us on input here. So you can hear it's a guitar. It sounds great. I'm running through my STL tone hub pack. And so we're using my Fender Champ. So this is my clean guitar signal, and it sounds and feels great. So if I'm going to record a guitar part for this, what I typically like to do is record this really slow so I can chop it up and make it really perfect. So I got the slow tempo set up here, and I'm just going to record this guitar loop for us and show you how I'm going to edit that and put it into our beat here. Amazing, right? Pretty great guitar performance, right, John? How did I do there?
Sounds great.
So, okay, now I'm going to use my really cool custom key command here, which is going to separate all of my transients, and there they are. And I can quantize this, and I have my perfect guitar loop ready to go. So, since I played it twice, I can make a stereo pass of this by taking the second half and dragging it right here. So this is my perfect stereo guitar loop. So let's listen. Boom. So now I could drop it in over here on our stereo track. It is in tempo, and let's hear this in the song. Perfect. Perfect guitar DI. We're already making a beat. Everything is going awesome. Let's play a bass part. So I have a bass here, and I have a channel already set up for this bass on this MBOX because we are showing a typical workflow of guitar DI, bass, vocals, 2 headphones, me and an artist hanging out and making music. So this,
yeah, and Sam, that's
go ahead, John.
Too. I'm just saying you had the bass already plugged in, right? So
yeah, so this is already plugged in, and it's on a complete different DI here. So if I pull up the channel on MBOX Control, this is actually a separate tube DI that I'm using in my rack over there, and I'm running line in to this MBOX right here on the back. So this has its own channel. I have the guitar DI on its own channel. I have the bass DI on its own channel, and this is how it sounds. So let me go up to my track that I have enabled for me to record bass. And boom. There I am. And I am using my tone hub pack here, which is my bass profile of my Sans amp. If I bypass it, it just sounds like this. Perfect. No issues. So guitar DI, bass DI, let's record our bass loop at a slow tempo here like we did with our guitar, and I will make a perfect bass take here. So here it is. Okay, boom, bass. So now before I do any editing on this bass, I'm actually going to Melodyne it. So I'm using this awesome feature of Pro Tools that has Melodyne now inside of it. So if I right click and choose edit, up comes my Melodyne window. So now I have all my bass notes ready to go. I can select them all. Then I can correct my pitch. And there it is. That is a tuned bass. Now, a super cool secret is that band Nickelback, they used to Melodyne their bass twice. So we're going to Melodyne this twice, just like Nickelback would do, because we love Nickelback. So here we are, twice Melodyned. Perfect bass. So let's listen to that. Okay, great. So now I'm going to quickly do my tab to transient editing on this. Any questions so far?
What do you think the secret sauce is behind the double Melodyning?
I think it is the consistency of low end. It's just like turning it into a square wave, essentially. So just making your bass low end very consistent. So if we tab to transient, edit all this, we have our bass perfectly tuned and perfectly edited. Now, I don't use the separate at transients option for bass because its waveforms are too big and inconsistent to have the automated AI cut it. Okay, so there we go. Bass edited. Let's listen to it in our song. Okay, so let me drop it down onto these tracks that I made for us. Do a quick smooth. And we are good. Okay, so now I have these bass tracks here that I'm going to drop all this onto. And it sounds like this. Perfect. So I like to do a dry DI, then I do a wet DI, which is a dark glass, and then I have a sans amp, and then I have a Ampeg and an orange bass amp. So these are all models of my typical bass amps, and this is what I would use to make a bass tone. So there's that, and then I can also group this with our handy group, and there we go. Bass is done, guitar is done. Now we can work on reamping our guitar and then move on to vocal. Okay, cool. Any questions so far? How are we doing?
Doing fantastic, Sam.
Okay, so now the guitar, we have our stereo DI, and we want to run this through my amplifier. And the cool thing is we can, because the MBOX has this great reamp out feature on it. So let's show you how we have that set up. So I have the stereo reamp out going to our MBOX out 7 and 8. So if I go to my control, I can click on my reamp here, and I have 7 and 8, left guitar, right guitar. So let's send our left guitar to our reamp out, which is plugged into my Vox AC30, run it into a cab next door with a single 57 coming back into the MBOX. And so that single 57 is using, that is on our channel 4 right here. So boom, highest impedance, ready to go. So what I like to do when I reamp is I like to print a 1 dB tone so that I can use this to check the phase and align the audio with the signal. So let's send this out and let's test the signal and let's record it. So there that is. So, but if we look at the signal, we'll notice that it's actually out of phase. It's going down instead of up. So what that means is I now need to go back to my control, and I can click right here, and I can change the phase with my quick key. And there it is. It has now changed the phase. Let's record this, and let's see. And now we are in phase. So that is in phase, and we can record the left guitar. So let's do that real quick. Great. Now we can do the right side, but I need to go back to the control and change that to not be muted. Whoops. I need to click back on here, and let's mute. There we go. Great. So now we can record that. Boom. Okay, so Now we're going to align this using our 1K tone that we printed. So if you don't understand it, it's going out of the MBOX into an amp, into a speaker, into the room, into a microphone, coming back. All of that signal path creates this much latency that we're seeing in here. So we're going to zoom all the way in and cut and make our waveform real big and cut it right here, because that is where the file starts. And then we can slide it back there, and boom, we have perfectly reamped our DI, and it is perfectly in time. And now we can consolidate this and loop this and listen to it. So let me delete that and copy it down to here. And now this is our reamped guitar. And for anyone who cares, here's the plugin compared to the reamp guitar tones. Here's the plugin. Now granted, that's a Fender, but then here's the Vox now. So boom, we have recorded a DI guitar, a DI bass. We have edited those, we have tuned them, and we have put them into our song and successfully reamped our guitar. We are having a great time with this MBOX. Before we start moving on to any vocals, any questions, anything that I can answer about the workflow so far for you? Nothing.
Sam, you
No
make
one
it
has-
look so easy. You make it look so easy. Because it is easy, right?
Yeah, I mean, when I do this every single day, it's just second nature. So like I said in the beginning, this is a typical day of what we're doing, like condensed into a 30-minute section here. But like recording DIs, recording, reamping tones, tuning things, editing things, grid editing, making sure that loops are correct and like put into the right sections of the song, working at the slower tempo compared to working at the actual tempo. All of that is our typical workflow, and it's just streamlined into this entire interface where we don't have to unplug and change any inputs or get new levels for anything. Everything is ready to go at all times. So with that being said, I got my buddy Sim here. Sim is set up on some vocals. I have some vocals going, so we can open that up and see how this is going to sound. So basically, let's talk about, he's going through an SM7. The SM7 is plugged into our MBOX here, and we are using that on channel, let's go back to here. So we are on channel 1. And so if I do my focus, we're on the highest impedance possible. Anyone who uses an SM7 knows that you got to crank that gain pretty hard unless you're using like a cloud lifter. So don't be afraid to push pretty hard on that level. So basically, Sim is coming into the Pro Tools through some auto-tune and through some compression. But when he tracks, like any vocalist, he wants to hear a little bit of reverb and a little bit of delay. So we're going to give him some of that to be able to monitor as he's tracking, but it's not actually in the signal path and being recorded. So this is just an MBOX feature, which is really cool, which is this Avid effect. So Sim, go ahead and talk on that mic real quick. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, wait, do I have you on? I do not.
1, 2,
There we
1,
go.
2. There we go. Hello, everybody. My name is Sim.
Great. So now if I unmute with my amazing little hardware controller here, is that if I unmute with my button, I can now turn on his effects. So
1, 2. There we go.
everyone can hear his reverb, right?
Reverb, reverb.
Yep, we got it.
Amazing. Okay, great. So Sim is going to do a little verse here. We like to break things up into like word by word, part by part. So we're just going to work on the first 2 lines of this verse and see what we can get out of our boy here. How you doing, Sim? You ready?
Doing good? Yep. My head is spinning and I'm trying to feel my face. There's something about the way you're looking that I should chase.
That's pretty good. Let's try both those again.
My head is spinning and I'm trying to feel my face.
That was a great take. Let's try just that one more time.
My head is spinning and I'm trying to feel my face.
Very good. Okay, so now we got our main, we got our double. We can then go in here and edit these just a little bit, make them real clean. Do a little bit of fade action. Okay, let's move on to our second line here, Sim.
Let's do it. There's something about the way you're looking that I should chase.
I'm impressed that you did that without a bass. Let me give you a little bass tone here. Or let me give you a guitar tone. Why don't I just do that? That's part of the arrangement, right?
Right?
All right, one more time.
Sorry about
Wow, that's a really loud one. Let me turn that down for you.
There's something about the way you're looking that I should chase.
Very good. Let's try one more.
There's something about the way you're looking that I should chase.
Wow, both of those are sounding very good. Nice work. Let's listen to this verse by dropping these onto our main and our double track here. So here's our main, and here's our double. So let's listen to this in context now.
My head's spinning and I'm trying to feel my face. There's something about the way you're looking that I should chase.
That sounds great. Let's go ahead and just work on this second half here. You could probably do this whole thing in one pass. My apologies. Let me give you a little bit more playback.
Sorry for coming on strong, but I've been waiting for you all night long. And now they're playing my song a little longer till I'm too far gone. Now we're too far gone.
Very strong ending there. Let's try that one more time.
Let's do it. Sorry for coming on strong, but I've been waiting for you all night long. And now they're playing my song a little longer till we're too far gone. Now we're too far gone.
Very nice job. Okay, so there are Sim's main vocals there. Let's just clean up his tracks a little bit. While I'm doing that, maybe John has a question or two.
Sim, you're a very consistent singer. I'm impressed at those takes. Sound
I
great.
like that.
Yeah. So you right now you want to talk a little bit about like how you've set up the monitoring for Sim?
Yeah, so let's see. Let me finish this edit here. I'll open up the control hub. But basically, me and there's two headphone outs on the MBOX here, and we each have our own individual sends that are happening there. So Sim has his own levels being set. But if we go to our control hub, basically here is my mix, my headphone mix, and then here is Sim's mix here. So I have a different amount of effect going to his headphone. And then if I click on his headphone here, then it will show us what's routed to it. Or if I go to my channel focus. Yeah, so then you can see that I could then route anything latency free. So if you wanted to hear me latency free in the actual signal before it went through Pro Tools, I could do it all through here. That's really handy with the TalkBack, which is a very good sounding TalkBack, by the way. I wish I could latch that thing down and have that as a drum mic all the time. But yeah, so then, if I have on his track, if I go to him and then click on our effect, and we can mute his reverb, which we showed earlier, and now he has different delay and effect reverb that I can set for him. So he's got his own latency-free effect that he can monitor through, and yeah, and his own individual level, different volume control, different send, everything.
Very cool. And on the TalkBack, if you just single press it, it'll latch.
Yeah, I just mean, I wish that I was sitting in a room with my drum set so it could be my other mic. I wish it was just its own microphone.
It is a good sounding microphone.
Yeah, you have to make the TalkBack microphone. Right. Okay, so there are our vocals, very clean, very edited and nice. The last thing I would do here is I would use vocal line, but I don't have the license on this computer. So yeah, we're just going to have to rock that and say that's our vocal. But just some auto-tune. And then we're using my nice compressor, the VU compressor. Shout out to my company, Purified. So I'm running him through the A style compression and then a little bit of the 3A style after that and just kind of cleaning him up. So here's how he sounds if I just solo him. Let's see.
My head is spinning and I'm trying to feel my face.
Very nice. Just a little studio reverb here from our friends at Avid. This is a great plugin, by the way. Everyone should start using this one more if you have Pro Tools. It rocks.
My head is spinning and I'm trying to feel my face.
I really like the early reflection for vocals. It's just a nice quick ambience there. So yeah, vocal, guitar, bass, DI. Here we are. Any questions?
So have you ever merged those two things that you just did, reamping and vocal?
Reamping vocal.
Yeah.
So oddly, I haven't reamped vocals too often because I don't really run it through pedals or anything. If I do, I run it through my Space Echo sometimes, but I haven't done that in a long time just because recall issues when it would come to doing sessions. But if I was going to do it, I would print it, but I haven't done those things on vocals. I probably should experiment more. It would be great. But the one thing that I do reamp that is a kind of a unique one is I reamp snares all the time. And I run it through a speaker and set it on the snare drum in that room and just blast snare onto a snare into the room and blend a lot of that into my mixes so that I can use a lot more exploding room mic sound instead of just using a sample, you know?
So when you reamp a snare, are you playing it out through like a PA or like a guitar amp, or what do you?
Yeah. I would just use a so I have a Fryette power station here that's like a 50 watt tube amp. It's just like a rack piece. You probably know about it, John, because that company rocks. But yeah, so I just run a line level signal into that and then run that directly into that speaker and just run that thing as loud as I can. So that's my other unique creative use of reamping. Besides that, most reamping is just guitar and bass for me. I'm a little boring like that, but a lot of people, you know, are using effect pedals and things like that. So obviously this whole setup is really well done for having any sort of, you know, tabletop effect pedals that you wanted to reamp into.
I do have a question for Sim.
Yeah.
So Sim, recording that vocal, what was your experience? You feel like, you know, sound wise?
Oh, he can't hear you talking to him.
Oh,
Sorry.
he can't hear.
He's asking, what was your experience recording the vocal sound wise? What do you think about the MBOX?
Latency
I love
wise.
the inbox. It's what I use in Baby Panda.
Yeah.
The window guy over here.
Yeah, so Sim's an artist that actually like does a lot of work out of here. He's a solo artist, and our main mic setup for him is we have a Warm Audio C8000, and we just have that set up in the room with the MBOX. And he's mainly most of the time that he's there, he's hanging out in that room and just like recording vocals and writing songs. He's like a main songwriter homie that is always hanging out here. So yeah, he loves the MBOX. Big fan of it.
Great piece of equipment.
Now, Sam, you have a carbon expanded carbon system in your big room.
Yeah.
So, you know, sonic wise, kind of going between the two, you know, the MBOX Studio doesn't use the same mic preamps as the carbon. How's your experience kind of going between the two worlds?
So the whole mic preamp thing is like a really funny thing. I talked about this at a previous webinar about carbon, but it's funny because, you know, anyone who's had like a previous MBOX or 002 or maybe even like a Control 24 or something like that, anyone who has made records and owned those piece of gears know that the preamps on those were not that great, and so everyone always bypassed them and used a lot of external preamps because it was just like these digital whatever preamps inside of here are not that great. And so that's kind of like the typical mindset that most people have about interfaces these days. And so this is, I haven't owned a Avid product besides the Pre-8 as a preamp device for a really long time. I've been on the HD system and the HDIO, so I'm using it as conversion and inputs. And so in my other room before I had the carbon, I had the 8 Avid preamps. I had a 16 channels of them with the 2 racks. But anyways, I liked those preamps. I thought they sounded great, and I thought that they were like a really unique like step up in terms of the workflow with being able to sync it inside of Pro Tools and actually have the mic preamp control. And so I was looking forward to trying the carbon preamps, and I really like in my mind I was like, these are probably gonna suck, you know what I mean? Like, and I couldn't believe how phenomenal they were. Like they changed my whole perception of preamps. Like they made all my analog preamps sound like they're like sepia Instagram filters that are just noise in front of my audio, whereas the carbon preamps they just are phenomenal. And so we have 16 of those next door in our other room, and it's just a complete turnkey solution. Like I could just walk into that room and just make drums and track DIs and track vocals and have no issue. And so now that we've been reliant on like trusting that signal flow, what's really cool is now the MBOX is an extension of that workflow, and it brings that same workflow into another room. So we really like to use all rooms simultaneously here when we're working on records. Like when I'm producing like a record for like a few weeks at a time, I'll be doing drums or guitar in this room, and we'll have just vocal in another room and just bass DI in another room. So we're using everything simultaneously. So what's so cool is that this is just a turnkey solution that is integrated with the carbon, where I can take a DI and plug it into this, and it's the same settings, it's the same sounds, it's the same thing. So we could take that vocal mic and be like, well, let's do it in this room today because we're doing drums in that room. So just do it in the side room. And it's the exact same settings. We don't have to pull out an analog preamp or anything. It's made my workflow way more intuitive, and it's made the whole process of just making records way easier to not have to like rely on lugging gear between the rooms or anything. Everything is just this integrated, beautiful setup. So where we have this MBOX, like we could do everything we need to do on the MBOX, not a problem. Also, like, we're not using it right now because I have it set up in my main room, and because we wanted to do this like turnkey demonstration scenario where we can't really fit it in the smaller room with the cameras and everything. But point is, this whole system is just phenomenal, and it just works really well, and everything is integrated with our monitor rig, and like I don't need any other. This is the only device that we need to do everything we do in there. There's nothing else external needed. You just need to plug in your instrument and or your mic, and you can make everything with this, and it's going to sound phenomenal and be great. There's no need for an external preamp. There's no need for external hardware pieces. Everything is just, this is a beautiful, beautiful device. Like if I was going to go start a brand new record with a new band in a different country and go rent a Airbnb and just try to make the record, I would be totally confident and super stoked to just only bring an MBOX and a pair of headphones and start making a record. It would be fine. I'd be really happy with that.
Right. And it would survive the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely, which our best friends in the band Spirit World will demonstrate to the world here soon.
So it looks like we do have a question about reamping. So can we reamp going through an Axe-Fx?
Absolutely. Of course. You might want to explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, no, definitely. I actually have an Axe-Fx here that I use. So yeah, you could certainly, if you wanted to re-record, a DI signal out through the Axe-Fx and then re-record the Axe-Fx into Pro Tools or whatever DAW you're using, you can certainly do that. There is coax digital I/O on the MBOX Studio, so you can come out of the Axe-Fx digitally and go right into MBOX control and stream it right into your DAW. So yeah, it works great. Yeah,
that's great.
The other thing too about you talked about some the variable impedance, and you had when you were tracking the guitar and you had set an impedance setting.
Yep.
Yeah. So did you kind of like hunt and pack around for like the combination that impedance setting that would work for the guitar and the sound that you're going for? Or?
I've gone really down the rabbit hole on impedance things, and so I think it's really cool that those options are in there. However, like the way that I am about like impedance is the most purest form of it, of like having it at the highest impedance. So like I use a Avalon DI in all my rooms here, and part of the reason why we use that is because it's a straight line level device, so there is no other preamp coloration or anything else. And so one thing I maybe could demonstrate that is a really smart thing to do, but is measuring your output with your DI, so that like if I were to put a 1 kilohertz signal on this, and then let's see, Sim, you want to give me a little tiny cable over there? I'll just do this real quick and show how easy this is to do. Yeah, no, the guitar cable, one of the patch cables there. Thank you. So, sure, that'll work fine. So then we're going to run out of this DI, and we could run straight into our input here, which would be, what is our DI input that we used? Point is, I'm going to show how you can calibrate and do the correct signal flow here. So we're running this on number 2. So, boom, so that is there. And if I do this, so I'm setting this out at negative 20 dB, and I want this to be returning and coming back in and looking good. So if I bring it back in, this level is 21 dB. So I can go to my MBOX control and go back to my DI here and turn myself up 1 dB and actually have my guitar DI completely unity gain. So point is, when I've gone through like the whole like rabbit hole of DIs, I'm trying to make sure that the guitar is entering the Pro Tools and leaving Pro Tools at the exact same volume as it was. And I want to do that at the highest fidelity with the lowest amount of capacitance to make sure that I have a perfect frequency capture of my guitar. So I'm not really interested in using the variable capacitance and the other impedance modes other than putting it to the highest possible. I'm trying to capture the HDR version, so to speak.
Right.
But I do think that the capacitance options and how it affects the amp and like how much that matters to guitar players for feel and like how to make the digital amp respond like an actual amplifier is really awesome. And using that and playing that and just, playing with those options just for fun is a cool thing for me, but if I'm in a capturing device, like I'm looking for the highest impedance, so that's why I will set it all the way there.
Makes sense. Yeah. Typically the lower the impedance you go, the darker the tone's going to get. And and then you add that, that capacitor, capacitance option in the loop, you're going to get kind of like a reactive feel, like how a tube amp would react. But yeah, it's cool stuff to experiment with for sure. There's no rules really to any of this stuff. You just kind of do what works and what sounds good to your ear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead, sorry. No. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was just gonna say, just like the whole, the ground lifting on the reamp and like the variable impedance and everything about the whole MBOX is really tailored to a smart DI workflow and guitar and bass workflow, and it's really smart. And I could tell, obviously, you're a really passionate guitar player. You got a bunch of cool gear, and it's nice that you put that type of thought process into this because it really translates well.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because most of us guitar players have amps, and we love Sims are great. I love Sims, but I've got plenty of amps that I want to use too. So it's nice that kind of you can mix them up.
Yeah,
and you can definitely hear like on your track, that like the AC, the Vox versus the Fender Sim. You hear the difference. You hear, you get more air. You're getting, a real recording.
Yeah, and it's like what's so cool about this too is like it's just awesome that you did a reamp on it with a DI lift and everything, like as opposed to be like, oh sure, you just plug in one of your external reamp boxes into one of the outputs here. It's like you've removed that extra part of the signal flow and just really made it much more of a turnkey solution, and it's really just a smart, beautiful design.
Thank you. Yeah, a reamp box is like $200 on its own, so it's it's a lot of functionality built in.
Absolutely.
All right. So there's some questions coming in here for you, Sam. So one is, do you ever use the EQ to DAW function to print the EQ from MBOX Control to Pro Tools?
I have not, but I do think it is a smart thing. I'm just something that, like, if I was gonna do that, I would just be a little bit more like cautious about recall and saving the presets, which is really nice that you could do that. But yeah, like that's one that I would be too afraid to have that control myself personally. But I do think it's a cool feature, and this EQ sounds great. It's just really easy to like use and make sound good. I really like doing just like things like this where you can just lift up everything except for your top end there. Really smart design. And then just It's a little drop, you know. This is like a typical vocal thing. So, but mainly when I use the EQ, it's just going straight to the headphones as a monitor device as opposed to actually going into the DAW itself.
And let me see, there's another question about, oh yeah, this was actually a cool one. I like this too. Can you walk us through the transient cutting trick?
Yeah, absolutely. So sorry, I kind of blew through that one pretty quick for you. But so the workflow on that, I guess I could just pull up this Guitar DI again and bring it over here. So the workflow on this is that there is a fun trick inside of Pro Tools that not a lot of people know, which is that you can use this option. It's called Edit, Separate Clip. So you can separate whatever clip or region that you've selected, and you can do it at transients. Now, before the key command option existed in Pro Tools, this was a thing that you didn't have the option to make the key command to do it. So the big command that I'm always using is Apple E, and that's just how you split a region. So I went into my keyboard shortcuts, which, let's see, keyboard shortcuts. And if you type in transient, you have your separate clip at transients. And so then I did it so that it's the Control Option Command E is how I do that command. So if I grab a region and I've played it pretty close to the tempo and done as best as I can, I could just do that key command, and it will ask me if I want to do a pre-separate amount, which I'd choose a 0 because I want it to be chopping exactly on the transient. And boom, now it is chopped on every single transient that we have. So, you know, it's not perfect. You got to go in there and clean some stuff up, and that's why on bass I'd rather just do it by hand real quick instead of cleaning it up. But that is the technique that I use. And so what is like the problem is when you're recording most artists, everyone is like a little fast and a little rushing the beat. So when you do this technique and then, so, you know, you separate it transients, and now the next technique is to quantize it to the grid. So I'm going to hold Command and 0, and that will quantize all of those regions to the grid. So when we do that, the problem is that it's going to create these little gaps and these little spots that, like, when you use Beat Detective, it's going to have to trim these out to fill those gaps. And so that is where you have the most potential for, like, editing glitches and artifacts. So the benefit of playing the part at a slower tempo is that you're going to get a cleaner performance and you're going to get cleaner transients, and it's going to be easier to edit that. And if you're using the Tix mode instead of samples, anytime you drag these regions to any part of the grid, it's going to change with the tempo. So if you quantize it at the slow tempo and move it to the fast tempo, all the regions are going to quantize and overlap each other, and it's just going to be the cleanest performance. So as you saw, I just played a very poor performance of that guitar part with my Evertune here, so it's a little forgiving. But then the slower tempo makes it even more forgiving, and then now it sounds great. It sounds like a totally fine guitar take, you know. So that is the technique.
All right. And let me see, we got another question, I guess you came in here. Say, what is the amount of headroom you recommend for tracking and reamping, respectively?
Great question. So this meter here, I like my signal to be inside of this green, or this is like a lighter green. It's not yellow, but it's like a lighter green. So as you can see with these levels, I want this to all just kind of be sitting in the middle of here when I'm tracking. So really anywhere between, like, I usually shoot for -12 is kind of my perfect balance point that I'm going at. I'd rather it be like between -12 and -20. So kind of like a -18 thing is the standard, or what should be the standard for calibration. So yeah, I just try to shoot kind of around -18 there and make sure that it stays pretty put. No reds, no low levels, just keep it nice.
What level do you record with when you going through a sim? Like if you want to record a DI track for a sim?
So if like that then goes back to calibrating my DI input and making sure that the output is the same signal as the input. which I did with that 1 kilohertz little thing. So I would just make sure that the guitar is coming in at the correct level, and then I would adjust the plug-in until it sounded correct. So that would be what I would do. I would ignore all of my input signal and only focus on making sure that I had it set at unity gain.
I got another question. So, what are some of your favorite guitar sims?
Favorite guitar sims? Well, I'm glad you asked, because one of them is my guitar sim from my awesome company Purified, and this would be the amp Death Western here. So we made this out of tones from an album that I made for a band called Spirit World. Awesome record called Death Western. You can pick it up on their website here by clicking it and listen to it on Spotify or YouTube. But this is the 2 guitar tones we used for the record. We got a 53 style one, which is based on a EVH 5153 that I have over here, a EL34 version, and then a 5150 block letter. So this is my, like, if I'm gonna do like heavy guitars and just like play into my computer and try to like just be, making heavy music, that's the go-to sound for me. So yeah, it's pretty tight. I like that. And then I made it's funny, I used to use the Waves guitar for years, but so now I've been using my STL tone hub pack, which is over 150 different profiles of every single amplifier here in the studio. So that way I could be like, I want to play my Mesa Boogie triple rectifier. So I can go to my triple rectifier and I could say, I want to play channel 3 through my orange cab or my Bogner cab or my Marshall. And so then I can load that up and I've got that amp ready to go. So I have successfully converted my amplifier sounds into plugins so that I have my same workflow built into a plugin now. So those are my favorite digital amps.
So real amps.
Yes.
Let's say for genre, like you do a lot of like pop punk, right, and metal. Those are maybe safe to say the 2 primary.
Sure.
So what would be your go-to amp for each one of your starter projects?
My 5150 and my Orange 8140 are my 2 favorite amplifiers of all time. Those would be the go-to amps. I could get any record done with those amps. Even I could use that 5150 for like softer rock things too, like not a problem. Like I love that amp. That's the
block,
the
block,
the original. You know all
right,
about it.
There it is.
There you go. You got one.
Yeah,
I got mine for $450.
I got the full stack with the slant and the straight cab with the head for $500.
No big deal. Yeah, it's so funny. Like when I, was first being a guitar player, I had the dual rectifier, and then I did the Marshall JMP1 and the 9200 or EL34 power amp, because I was really into Deftones and Blink-182. So, but then I remember getting a 5150, which was only, $450 at a used shop, and that was just like that changed my life. I became a serious tone enthusiast the second I got that amp. So yeah, love my 5150, really love my Orange 8140, and then really big fan of an amp that I have called a Dexter, which is it's a super lead plexi that was made by this dude who used to work for Bradshaw, who is Green Day's guitar guy. So this is my Dexter amp is the exact same amp and circuit and clean channel and everything that they use live. So I have the live Green Day amp. It just sounds great. Really, really awesome. Like modified, like Marshall, that just is great. And all of those are conveniently available in my Tone Hub pack. So you can check that out at any time. If you want to play the Dexter amp, just go down to the Dexter. We got the clean channel. We got the heavy channel. Everything's good to go. Boom.
Where can people find this stuff? What's the web address?
So you can find it at purified.com and or at STL Tones. STL Tones has the Tone Hub pack. You got to pick up their Tone Hub amp in order to use the preset pack. But you can go to Purified and pick up the Death Western plugin for under, I think it's less than $30 right now. So and it's going to go on sale again when they go on tour in a few weeks. So get ready for that.
Very cool. Very cool. Any other questions coming in here? Let me see. Yes, look at this. Could you record a full drum kit just with the MBOX Studio?
I'm really glad this was a question that was asked, especially because I know that my friend John here is really excited about this question too.
Yes.
Yeah, so there are 6 inputs onto this device here. 4 of them are preamp XLRs, and 2 of them are line ins. However,
Actually, 8.
8. That's right.
If you include the effects returns.
The effects return. That's what I was going to. I knew I was missing something there. So with those 4 inputs, if you used a TRS input connection and plugged that into any dynamic mic, it would work exactly the same as the preamp, same levels. So you could record 8 microphones on a drum set, no problem. So kick, snare, tom 1, tom 2, overhead left, overhead right. Maybe you got your out kick and maybe you got your bottom snare, or you have another stereo pair of rooms. There you go. All 8 channels, not a problem. Happy to do it on an MBOX. Also, you can expand it by adding the ADAT with like a carbon and bring another 8 channels in through that as well, correct?
Correct. Or you could actually use 2 MBOX Studios together. So have a band, 2 people in the band, each have an MBOX Studio. You can aggregate the 2 together and then have 16 analog inputs. So that's a pretty cool thing. So we actually just shot a video this week that should be up in the next week or so, showing that aggregation of the 2 MBOX Studios together. And we have a video that's already posted. If you go to our YouTube channel, or if you go to the Getting Started page on the MBOX Studio landing page on the Avid site, you can see us recording a drum kit, just like Sam was talking about, using the 8 inputs. So, and they sound great. They really do sound great.
Yeah, I love the preamps. All the I can't stress that enough, how cool and how great the preamps sound. Like if I had to do everything over right now, I would just run on carbon preamps, no problem. I would just have carbon in my 2 main rooms, and I'd have the MBOX in the other one, no problem. Those preamps just rock.
Okay, look at this. We've got another question here. This one is for horn players.
Wow.
It said, are there any particular settings which are fond of for horn players, particularly trumpet and flugelhorn players?
Okay, good question. In that scenario, if I was a trumpet or flugelhorn capturist, I would probably use my Bayer Dynamic M160 ribbon, or I would use one of my other ribbons to get it a little bit smoother and have that low impedance vibe going on. So therefore, I would then use the carbon at the low impedance setting to actually power those mics on the correct impedance. So yes, that would pair very well.
Carbon or MBOX Studio?
Yeah, I keep calling them carbon preamps, but yeah. Sorry. It's just the same preamp, yeah, in 2 different boxes.
Let me see here. Yes, somebody reminded me. Yeah, the drum video is called, that I was talking about, A Hidden Gem, Connecting 8 Mics to the MBOX Studio. So if anybody wants to search for that video, they can find it that way.
Amazing.
Let me see here. Can you send through the ADAT output signals from Pro Tools or other apps without routing them through MBOX Control? No, so everything is routed through MBOX Control, but with that said, MBOX Studio has what we call persistent mixer in it. So once you set it up with the MBOX Control app, all those settings are saved inside of the MBOX Studio. So that's the way that you can aggregate 2 together. You basically set up the routing the way that you want it, so that your analog inputs are going to go out your discrete ADAT outputs, and then you connect an ADAT optical cable from the secondary MBOX Studio to the primary one, and then stream those analog inputs in via the ADAT to the primary. But yeah, and the beautiful thing about this is that there's a lot of monitoring controls that allow you to switch between multiple sets of studio monitors. You can use the digital app to hook up digitally to monitors. There's one thing we haven't talked about, which I did want to ask Sam about, is the Bluetooth IO, but you can hook up Bluetooth devices. All that stuff will work when the computer isn't booted up. So the MBOX Studio will work as a standalone monitor, controller, switcher, and allow you access to all that stuff without the computer. But yeah, Sam, I wanted to ask you about the Bluetooth. I mean, have you used the Bluetooth at all? Or?
I have. I've successfully used the Bluetooth to stream to my headphones and my car. Worked great. I have not used it as an input device yet, but I was talking to Stu from Spirit World the other day, and he was talking about a successful idea of how to use the Bluetooth input on it. And I was like, you are a very smart person. I think it's just really cool that there's Bluetooth in and out on it. It's really just a awesome feature to have.
That's cool. So you're checking your mixes in your car via Bluetooth.
Yep.
That's cool.
Not a problem.
Without having to bounce.
Right outside of where the MBOX is, so I just streamed it right to my car, and then I used the Avid control app on my phone to press play and stop.
How cool is that?
No big deal.
Do you check your mixes on AirPods or?
Yeah, I do actually a lot. I check them on AirPods, and then I've been using those Steven Slate headphones recently. They're pretty cool. The virtual mix room. It's really nice when you're doing some tiny like recall and revision stuff to put on those headphones and try out those virtual rooms. But yeah, I love listening on my AirPods. I really like just listening on my iPhone itself too, especially because it's like kind of monoized, so I can make sure that all my stereo stuff isn't competing a little too hard.
Right. I mean, that's so many people listen that way, right? Including myself. Yeah.
I mean, but yeah, I would assume that probably 80% of people who are being shown new music to listen to are probably doing it through an app on their phone, playing it for them through those speakers.
So we're almost at the hour here. I don't know, anybody else have any questions they want to ask Sam about anything? Miking techniques?
So I had the question for you that I would like you to talk about for some people. What are some of your favorite and best uses of the soft keys and the customizations that you would recommend for people? Because for me, I have it set up where I can do the effects mute for the channel. I have the phase, and then I have the EQ bypass, and then I have my preferences so I can pull it up. That's all I've done. But I'm curious how you have yours routed, and what are some smart techniques that you would recommend? Any hacks, any life pro tips?
So, the cool thing about being able to color code is that you can kind of match some of the functions, like the EQ functions, you mentioned, like the EQ bypass and the EQ to DAW, which will either, will record that EQ to your DAW. It just changes the pickoff point of the input signal. Those are blues. So I usually have both of those functions on one key, because each one of those user action buttons can have two functions. There's a press function and then press and hold. So you can have 8 functions mapped out there. But some other ones, the group monitor outputs, that's one that I have mapped out. That essentially you have the ability to have a independent monitor mix going out each output. So when you're tracking, you might, like you were showing earlier, you want to have a different mix going out each headphone output. But when you're mixing, you basically just want the same mix going out all the outputs, and that's what that button does. So I'll have that mapped out. And some of the preferences pane, that's one I want to get to a lot, so I usually have that on a button. The soft limit, have that on a button.
The soft limit is a really cool feature too.
Yeah, it sounds good, and kind of protects against overs and yeah. So there's a lot of
flugelhorn to have engaged.
Yeah, absolutely.
On that,
never know when it's gonna just rip your head off.
Absolutely.
The other thing too is that we have those inputs in the back for external switches. Have you used any of those at all?
Actually.
Yeah,
that's smart.
Yeah, that, and you can hook up an expression pedal too, which is kind of neat for some of the plugins, like if you want to control wah-wah or a filter sweep or like a delay time, something like that. You can just do that directly with one of the
The neural
in-
DSP stuff, so you can use those pitch shifters.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. How smart.
Well, let me see. Oh, there's another question here. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, how to send Mac audio to 7.8 ADAT and loopback. Okay. Yeah. So essentially, I don't. Sam, have you used loopback at all?
I have not actually. I'd be curious to hear your explain
Yeah.
like in 5 scenario here.
So yeah, so basically what loopback does is allows you to take two channels that are coming in from another source, could be from inside the computer. So it could be coming in from an application like Spotify, or you're running Ableton Live, or any other audio application, and it would you stream it on two of the inputs, and then you route it back, or you loop it back to a couple of the inputs on MBOX Studio. So right now it's fixed. It's 7 and 8. The internal is 7 and 8 that gets looped back to ADAT 7 and 8. And all you do is you engage that, and then in Pro Tools or whatever DAW you're using, you route ADAT 7 and 8 to your audio channel that you want to stream the audio to, and then that loop back audio will just show up on that audio.
That's awesome.
Audio track. Yeah. So it's just it's a good way, if you Zoom or webinar or whatever, you want to record that audio back into Pro Tools or your DAW, you can do that really easily without having to route outside the computer.
Yeah.
The other thing too is, like, a lot of people are using this for podcasting. Kind of found it by accident. There's some people that bought it for music production, and then they started using it for podcasting because it sounds so good, and like audio fidelity for podcasting is becoming more and more important. What was I going to say? Oh yeah. So with the ability, with the Bluetooth ability, you can bring in a phone call really easily into your DAW or into your podcast. You can just stream it right from your iPhone or your Android device right into MBOX.
So smart.
Yeah.
Beautiful. The other thing I really like
wants
too
to know
is
if
how
you're
this.
taking any interns. You hiring interns?
Yeah, all the time. If anyone wants
All
to come and hang out, you can always come and hang out.
Cool.
We'll be best friends. I was going to say, I really like how this monitor control can come out too, so that you can always just have that ready to go.
Yeah.
I love the monitor scenario, and I love that you can change your dim amount and everything, and it's just in your talkback level. It's a very smart design.
I know you can resize that too.
Yes.
Break it out. You can resize it. You can bring it. And yeah, when you're in Pro Tools, it always floats on top.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There we go. Wow. Look how cute that is.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Today I learned.
So many little hidden features.
That's awesome. How many years were you developing this before it came out?
Almost 2.
That's awesome.
Yeah, a lot of development went into this.
Very awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your work.
We appreciate you, and appreciate you appreciating us.
Amazing.
Did we just become best friends?
I think so. I think we've been there.
So I guess we're 5 minutes past the hour. Any last minute questions? We'll just give it like 10 seconds here, see if anything else comes in.
Amazing.
And if not, I guess, Angel, should we close it out? How do you end these
Time
things?
of the day. Thank you, Sam. Thank you for an incredible presentation. Thank you, John. It has been amazing, really great. And just so everybody knows, in about a week, we're going to be posting this as an on-demand video on YouTube. So keep your eyes open.
Right.
And thank you for joining.
Thank you, Sim. Sim, thank you so much. Great vocals.
Thank you.
Yep. And Mel.
Great guy. Yep. And Mel,
And
our video,
behind
our
the
best
camera.
friend, our true best friend, for getting this all happening here. I hope you
And
all
who
enjoyed this.
also
This was fun.
on the, also took the MBOX pictures for the MBOX page on
That's
the
right.
Avid.
That's right. Yeah. With the
Yep.
Spirit World playthrough video that everyone should watch. That's right.
Cool. Thanks,
Amazing.
everybody.
Thank you very much.
Great day.